Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's time to take a look at the last of the Omnibots. And we have here Overdrive. Overdrive, like the others, had no specific function or tech spec listed when he was released. He has since been retconned in the various media to be a strategist. The retcons coming out of the More Than Meets the Eye guidebooks also suggests that Overdrive is also a bit cocky due to the fact that he has been pretty successful as a strategist and seems to function as the leader of the Omnibots as well. So he's pretty smart and rather good at his job. Given what his alternate mode is, I'd also say he's also pretty fast. But as for everything else, it's probably about average at best for him. Overdrive is probably one of the more popular of the Omnibots, given his alternate mode and the red color. Plus, he also has more weapons than he can hold, but he does have a bonus one here, as the extra cannon that's used in his attack mode can also be deployed in his robot mode. So he can have a pair of guns pointing out of his chest, in addition to the guns that he's got in his arms. Of course, like all the Omnibots, he is a fragile toy, and he shares a similar breakpoint to many of the other Transformers released alongside with him, and that is the windshield. The windshield, as you can probably see here on the camera, it is made of very, very thin plastic, so it will not take much stress to break this. So I do suggest to anybody who is looking for one to be very careful and to make sure you inspect loose samples to make sure that that windshield is not stressed. Anyway, articulation-wise, also Overdrive's got many of his counterparts beaten. The arms do rotate, you just gotta hold the chest down. The arms do rotate at the shoulder a bit, with some manipulation. They can go almost all the way, but there's a bit of excess plastic that sticks out. However, if you've got that in, if you've got that all the way out, the arms will rotate all the way at the shoulders to put his gun back in. He does have a joint at his elbows, so it does allow him to bend his arms at the elbow. And the shoulder does also have a swivel, so you can give him some different aiming options with the guns. So you do have a fair amount of play with Overdrive, if nothing else. And that's a nice feature on him. Now, of course, to transform Overdrive, first thing we got to do is we got to remove his guns. And, of course, fold this one back in. Exactly like that. The thing we got to do is we start by separating his chest and folding it up. Being very careful with that windshield. Next, we straighten the arms out to make sure they're not bent. Then we got to manipulate the shoulders a bit so that it brings the front tires back out. And like I said, if you're going to hold him, make sure you're holding him by the hood of the car, not the windshield. That's usually how many of these toys get broken. People will grab him anywhere. It's kind of go for something that's a little more solid. There we go. Once you've got the wheels rotated outward, You can straighten the arms out and fold them in at the sides. The wings that are at the side, you just fold them over. If they've slid out a bit, just slide them in, like so. There we go. Straighten the arms so they rest against the wings. Then for his legs, separate them at the knee, slide them together, and then just fold them over. You can also fold down his feet so that the windshield rests against it. The arms should hide inside the legs. There we go, folks. And there he is in his alternate mode. He is a sports car, as you probably figured. He's intended to resemble a Ferrari 512 BB. So that helps give him the look of being fast, and it doesn't look too bad. I myself am more a fan of the racy-looking F40 or the Testarossa that was also popular in the 1980s, but this is also not a bad-looking car. And of course, again, it's got the rubber tires, just like all old Transformers did. So how does he roll on them? Rolls pretty good. Just what you would expect out of a 30-plus-year-old toy. Now, of course, like all the other Omnibots, he does have an attack alternate mode. And his is probably the silliest of all of them. But we'll let you judge for that. Alright, on the underside, we're going to fold these wings out again. You just leave them so they rest against the doors. And then, of course, you fold out the guns from under the hood. And you have here a flying car. I didn't say it was going to look good, folks. I just said it was going to look weird. Now, I mean, flying cars have always been a dream. Supposedly somebody did patent one not too long ago. I don't know if they've sold enough of them. It's ironic because I live here in Ohio, where the Wright brothers came from, and we're always said we're the founders of flight, but I very seldom have seen a flying car here in Ohio. Well, this is as close as we'll probably get. Now, as for swooshing, like you would expect for a flying vehicle, it's okay. I mean, let's face it, it's a car with wings. You're not going to get much swooshing action. It at least looks a little more convincing as a flying car than what Trax's alternate flight mode came out looking. So he does have that going for him at least. Now we'll take a look at Overdrive's accessories, and as you can see, he comes with 3 guns, despite the fact that he only has 2 hands. Now this first one here is described as his neutron blaster. And I just let it slip out of my fingers and onto the floor. As you can see, it's an all-chrome gun. Just like all their weapons were. Nothing fancy about it, really. Then we have this double-barreled gun. The instructions describe as a twin electron cannon. Probably goes well with the one on his chest. And then lastly, we have this rather strange looking gun, which the instructions describe as a plasma beam rifle. This is probably his most powerful gun. But again, as we don't get any vital statistics on anything about these guys, we really don't know what to expect. But there we go. There's all three of his weapons. Moving right along now, we'll take a look at Overdrive's instructions. Here we got the listing of all the pieces. Special page about the Omnibots. And of course how to transform them. First into the attack car. Right here it claims that the chest cannon is a twin high-powered machine gun. Hopefully he doesn't have any fancy explosive ammo hidden there in that chest of his. And then, of course, we see how to transform him from a nice sports car into a robot. And then lastly, how to put the stickers on him. And that's the instructions for him. Now, since they didn't have tech specs, we're pretty much down to my thoughts. What do I think of Overdrive? Overdrive isn't a bad character per se. The biggest weak point on him, again, comes from the fact that he is very fragile. But then again, pretty much almost all of the Autobot cars were fragile in some way, shape, or form. The toy itself, it's not too bad, especially when you consider it was a mail-away exclusive. The biggest gripe that I have with it is, again, the fragility. Number two is the inclusion of a third weapon. I, like a fair amount of other collectors, I don't like excess weapons. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have a little variety. You can change it up as you play or whatever. But if he has no way to hold or store the excess weapon, it becomes, well, what do you do with it? And a lot of times, especially when we were kids, the excess weapons usually wound up getting lost because we'd forget who it went to. So that's always been a gripe with me, and I know fellow collectors also share that gripe. Of course, the third one, although it's a minor one, is right here where the machine guns come out. We can clearly tell that this front portion is a sticker, not plastic. So it kind of detracts from the overall look in general. It's a common curse. There's quite a few GoBots that are the same way. So it's unfortunate that it has to be this way, but what can you say or do about it to make it better? In the long run, nothing. There's really nothing that can be said or done about it to make it any better. But on the plus side, Overdrive does fill a small niche that, especially if you didn't have Prowl growing up as a child, Overdrive would make a nice, suitable stand-in for Prowl, as they both serve the same function of strategist. And he does have a fairly nice alternate mode in the form of a Ferrari. And his attack mode, while rather silly in its appearance, it does allow him to fly for a short amount of time. And thus, since the Autobots didn't have a whole lot of guys who could fly, he kind of makes a nice added addition to the lineup. So, like with all the other Omnibots, Overdrive here really fits about in the middle tier. He falls a little short of being in the top tier, mainly due to the small gripes that I have with the toy, but I think he's probably better off somewhere in the middle tier. That's my honest opinion, folks. And that concludes my review of the Omnibot Overdrive. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked the video, drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button to join our ranks. And make sure to ring the bell so you'll be notified when I post new content, as the Earthrise merchandise is starting to come out, so you never know. Some random day I may post Earthrise content. And also share this video with your friends to help this channel grow, and share your thoughts of Overdrive in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.